Hey guys, okay, so today I walked the dog, I've got my coffee, and yeah, I think today's gonna be the day. I'm finally going to start my oil painting sketchbook today. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so if you did not catch the last vlog, this is my newest purchase. This is my Ranger sketchbook. It's got so many pages. I don't even know how many because I threw out the label, but I really like this wraparound. It's got this kind of manila wraparound cover with this pocket. I don't know what I would put in here, but it's got this, like, I don't know, it's got like school file folder vibes, but best part of it and what makes it perfect for my oil painting practice is that it's got these super thick it's like cardstock, super thick cream colored pages, and it's a large format. I think it's 9x12, which is also perfect for me. This is it, guys. This is gonna be my oil painting sketchbook. I am going to get back into oil painting and I am going to hopefully love it. We'll see. But yeah, let's get painting. Okay guys, so I apologize in advance if this is a long one, but it's been a while. It has definitely been a while since I oil painted, and I can really feel it as soon as I start painting in the sketchbook. So what you're seeing here is just the very beginning of this painting. I wanted to show you guys as much of the process as I possibly could, because I was not sure how this was going to go as soon as I started. So when when I picked up this little sketch and transferred it into this book, I was like, yeah, this is going to be good. I can already feel it. I feel like I like this drawing. It's simple enough. I feel like it's straightforward enough. I always kind of like painting dogs that are multicolored versus one color. I just feel like it just makes for a more interesting painting experience, not necessarily a better painting in the end. But as the day went on and as the hours rolled on, I was kind of like, oh, I'm really feeling so out of practice here. Because oil painting is just, it's so different than anything else. It's so much less forgiving. There's a process to it. And I feel like when you are in practice, you kind of have that idea of how the painting's going to go in your head before you even start it. And with this one, I thought that I did, but the theory kind of went out the window as soon as I started putting down paint. So in the beginning, I showed you the paint colors that I was using and the paint mediums that I was using. And normally I don't like to use a lot of mediums, but I'm painting on paper here, and one of the reasons why I hesitated to start an oil painting sketchbook in the first place was just the drying time of oils. And so when you're working in a sketchbook, you kind of want to be able to kind of flip the page and keep going, right? But with oils, you can't really do that. You got to let it rest. And so the mediums that I'm using are not only going to help the paint flow better, but they're going to help it dry a little bit faster. So I'm using the Gamblin Gal Kid Gel and then the Gal Kid Light, which, if I'm honest, I have not really used a bunch before, but it does say that it helps speed up the drying time as well as maintain the gloss to your paint, so that's always nice. I think it's a little bit old. I think you could tell it's been a while since I've oil painted because that medium is a little bit old and it kind of had some hardened gunk at the top, so hopefully it was still good. But yeah, so I was using those. I was using a variety of brushes. The brushes that I got were pretty inexpensive. I really like them though. They're Mimic hog hair brushes, and I think I got them from Blick, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, they're Mimic hog hair. They're a little bit softer than the hog hair that I've used in the past, and yeah, I really, really like them. The only thing is they only come in like larger sizes, or at least when I bought them, I could only find kind of larger sizes. And working with a really big brush and trying to get fine detail is a little bit difficult for me. So you'll see in the end of this that I switched to a couple of smaller brushes that I actually use more for acrylic painting. But they worked fine. They were softer, round, small brushes. So back to the painting process. So yeah, so this painting process, actually, I really did enjoy it more than I thought that I would. Like, I knew that I liked oil painting and I knew I would like coming back to it, but I had a feeling that the first couple were going to be a struggle and they were going to be kind of painful. And they were a struggle, but I wouldn't say that they were painful. I definitely still enjoy using oil paint. So one of the reasons why I think I like oil paint so much is the fact that it's kind of versatile, right? So you can use it to paint all at once, right? So if you want to, finish a painting in one go, in one sitting, while the paint is still wet, it will stay wet. So I love the idea that I can stop painting, go for lunch, come back, and leave everything the way it is, and it'll be exactly the way it was when I come back, whether I come back in an hour or 2 hours or whatever. Even with this medium, the paint doesn't dry in one sitting. It won't dry for another day or two at least. So I love that versatility because I don't have to kind of say, oh my God, I just put paint out on my palette, so now I can't walk away. I have to keep painting. Or I just put paint down in this spot and I need to fix it, so I, have to come back later. But you can also paint indirectly. So I could, if I wanted to, let this dry in here and come back and paint more, in a week or so, or a couple of days. If I really, really wanted to, I could paint right over top. So it's definitely versatile in that way. I tend not to come back to my paintings, but maybe with this sketchbook, that's something that I will end up trying. Yeah, I think that would be a really interesting thing to try. One of the other things that I really like about oil painting is that unlike when I paint with acrylics or even when I paint with watercolors, is that it kind of changes your mindset a little bit. Well, at least with me it does. I feel like it changes my whole attitude towards painting, and it gives me, for some reason, I can paint more loose when I paint with oils than when I paint with anything else. So in my mind, when I am painting with acrylics or when I am painting with acrylic gouache or watercolors, I feel like my paintings come out much more illustrative, like illustrations or designs versus like what I would consider like a fine art painting. And not to say that my oil paintings are, amazing or anything, but they tend to lean a little bit more towards that kind of fine art versus illustration. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone else or if anyone would agree with me, but in my mind, that's kind of what happens. And so I feel like I'm able to kind of loosen up and, let brushstrokes show and kind of use like an interesting dab of paint and leave that there for the entirety of the painting and not come in and try to smooth things over or get nice flat, washes of whatever, or go back in with heavy lines to outline things, or, those kinds of things that kind of just tend to be more present in illustrations than in, fine art portraits. So I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a product of like the paint itself and just how it applies, or if it's just something weird in my head that got ingrained in me at some point. But yeah, that's kind of how I think about it. And so I definitely want to continue working with oils just to see how that develops. But at this point, I just kind of appreciate it for what it is and kind of just let it happen. So maybe I could talk a little bit about my process here too, because I mentioned that I kind of had a theory for how this painting was going to go, and then as I started painting, it all kind of went out the window. So the theory is basically just painting dark to light, and I think I started out that way, but it's not how I tend to paint, or at least it's not as strict of a process when I paint with acrylics, because they dry so quickly and you can just layer them over top that, even though I do paint dark to light for the most part, when I get to, after I get past that kind of initial covering of paint, I can pretty much do whatever I want. But with oil paint, that's really difficult. Like, it's really difficult to get back to your darkest darks if you kind of muddy them all up with lighter colors. And so the idea here is painting dark to light, starting with just the darkest darks and getting them all in there, and then working my way up. And I think the challenge I had here was kind of that desire to bounce around and kind of finish out an area before all of my darks were done, or before all of a particular color was done. And so you'll see me struggle with that a little bit at the end. You'll see me go back to the darks and then back and forth between darks and lights. But for the most part, I tried to stick with it. I just think that I didn't put enough of the darks down to then have a good dark to light transition. I don't know how to put this, but like, I think the next time I do a painting, I think I'm going to actually tone the surface so that I can get a little bit, I can start from a slightly darker place, and I think that will actually help. And I think I didn't show it, but I actually did prime this paper, even though it's super thick. I primed it with a clear gesso. It's more like a matte medium. It's a very slick surface, and that I think was the other challenge that I had, was that the paint didn't want to go down at first. Like, once you have a layer of oil paint down, it kind of sticks to itself, but the first layer was it was a little bit of a challenge to get that to kind of stick to the page. And so I might play around with maybe different different gessos to work off of, or maybe even just the raw paper, because that's the whole point of getting this super thick paper, is that I wouldn't have to prime the paper. But I kind of chickened out knowing that I was going to try and use some of these mediums. I just wasn't sure what that would do to the paper, if it would just totally destroy it. But as it is, this painting, actually, when I look at the underside of it now, there's zero bleed through. Like, I could do another painting right on the other side of this page if I wanted to, with no problem. Okay, so one more challenge that I had, and one more thing that I think was kind of an idea that I had that kind of went out the window when I started painting, was the fact that I forgot to paint in the collar and the background once I started getting more into the details of the portrait. And I definitely knew from the beginning that I wanted to put in a background. I just thought I wanted to put in like a neutrally kind of toned gray background, just based on the photo that this pup was in. But I was a little bit concerned because this is a sketchbook. I was just concerned about having that wet paint there and me dragging my hand through it to keep painting with the background there. Because normally you would want the background in before you get to like this point in the painting. But I was sure that I was going to drag my hand through it. So once I did put in the background, I was pretty much done. And I pretty much left it the way that it was. I think that there were probably some more tweaks that I could have made to the painting based on the background, maybe work the background color into the painting itself a little bit more than I did. But that's that's where that ended up. And then the collar, I kind of roughed it in really, really quickly. But you'll see here, I just remembered, oh crap, this collar is like completely unpainted. I'm not going to leave it that way. And to be honest, I could have in other paintings I have, and this is just a sketchbook, so it's not like it would have been the end of the world if I just didn't paint it, but I wanted to. Like, the whole point was I want to practice in the sketchbook as if I was doing portraits and really build that skill back up. And so, getting the color in there, if somebody wants me to paint their collar in, that's going to be important for me to get in there. So I quickly roughed it in and then got myself to put the background in. The background definitely changed this portrait for me too. Like, sometimes I'll paint something and I'll put in the background. I'm like, it's, could have done with or without, like I could take it or leave it with the background. But with this one in particular, this green really made the rosiness of the ears and the chin and the chest really pop. So it was kind of critical to get it in there. It's a little bit of a boring background. I tend to like solid colors for my backgrounds, and I know that I could vary it up a little bit, and I'll probably practice that more in this sketchbook as well. But just being able to kind of cut this color in and adjust some of the shapes around the edge of the face was just the final touch that I just needed for this painting. Okay, I'm back. So I did the painting. I ended up finishing it, and then I had to run out. I had a hard stop because Paxton had a 2:00 vet appointment that I had to get him to. And I've just come back, and I'm kind of glad that I had that hard stop, because when I left, I was really unhappy with the painting. But now that I'm back, I kind of feel like I don't by any means hate it. It's not my best painting. It's not my best painting, but I shouldn't expect that it would be my best painting because it's been almost a year, I think. No, it's been a long time since I've done an oil painting. Let's just put it that way. It's been months and months and months. I think I'm going to leave it. This is my first painting in the sketchbook. There's the first of many, and let's check it out. Here it is. I mean, yeah, it's fine. It's not the worst thing I've ever painted. It's not the best thing I've ever painted, but it is, I think, a fitting way to start my oil painting sketchbook. And I think it's a good example of why I need an oil painting sketchbook, because I really enjoyed painting today. I really, really did. And I think that if I can fill this entire book with oil paintings, I have to get better. I mean, there's no way that I could do, I don't know how many, like 70 some oil paintings in this book and not get better or not feel like I'm improving in some way. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, stay tuned for it. So yeah, thanks again for sticking with me for my oil painting sketchbook, and go ahead and like and subscribe if you want to see more. And yeah, I'll see you soon.